this is my game. It's called What Does It Mean? And just kind of a preface to everything. What you're looking at is basically a card. It's based off of a card game, is what it's supposed to be. I wasn't a big fan of card games until recently. I started playing games like Dominion with people that I live with, so I didn't really like it at first, but got really into it. I really like them now. And I've always been interested in the history behind words, where they came from, or how they've changed throughout time, so that's basically what this is based off of. And I call it What Does It Mean? Because there are some mystery elements to it. So before you actually start, of course, you're doing the equipment. You need a playing card for every single student. The cards will look just like the main section that you just saw. And you do need access to computers with internet connectivity. I wouldn't normally mention internet connectivity, but at this school I feel I probably should, because half the time you can't connect. So you have to have access to a digital or physical libraries. You can use either. It's kind of the discretion of the teacher. They can say whichever they'd like. If they don't want you to use a digital library, they can say you can go old school and use just the one we have here, or any other one, of course, on the campus. So then you have to have a movie selection containing every movie referenced in the game, which can change. They can add more, they can take some out. Alright, and the setup, of course, before the game begins, you need to set up everyone into their groups. And so what you saw, you might not have seen, actually, I think it was slightly messed up. On the top right of the card, there will be something like 1.1, 1.2, 3.6, whatever it may be. What those actually denote, the number before the decimal place, is telling you that you're in group number 1, 2, 3, 4, whichever one it is. And the one after I'll talk about a little bit later. So you have to get all of those people into all of their groups. They can do it themselves, so the instructors can do it, of course. And we'll remove the cards necessary to avoid gaps. So if you had up to 1.7 and you only had 4 people playing, you'd obviously remove the ones above it so you wouldn't have gaps. There is a reason for that later. And you begin the game. Obviously, they draw a random card, so nobody knows exactly which group they're going to be in. They draw the card, and they arrange themselves into their groups, and after that, they research the etymology or the etymology of their word or the history of their phrase. I wouldn't say etymology of a phrase, obviously, because that really makes a lot of sense. So for the history of it, the history typically, my idea was that it would come from either a book or it come from a movie or both. And if there are both, you can choose to watch the movie or read the book, whichever you really want to do. So they just have to research that. They have to have a good understanding of what it is, where it came from, especially the etymology. And the etymology is actually going to be saved basically for the harder parts. So if you're really, really good at this game, you're adept at it, you're finding out what it comes from like you're supposed to, you research it, then you do an expanded definition, so you guarantee that you know exactly what it is, where it came from, things like that. So after you know what it is, you come back into the groups, you all collaborate, and all of yours are linked together somehow. So, like the etymology of etymology, that's why it was actually the word in the center. Part of it actually comes from etumos. It is the neuter form, and it means true. So if I wanted to have the movie as True Grit, I could have that. And if you research the etymology, you could find that as one of the words. So that makes it a little bit harder. But you do get together, everyone finds out exactly what they have, and after you find out what you have, or you think you know what you have, then you have to meet with the teacher. You guarantee that it is actually the book or the movie that you had guessed it was. And if the instructor says you're correct, then of course you move on. So every single person in the group will then write an expanded definition on, a summary, an expanded definition, on their chapter or scene. The chapter or scene is based off of the number after the decimal point. So if you're 1.2, you're in group 1, you write on chapter 2 or scene 2. And that's why I said if you have a movie or a book, if you have an option of both, you can choose either. The movies are typically harder to write about, in my opinion. And the scoring, the expanded definition, and the individual summary are both worth 50 points each. And the group summary is worth 100, and you have assessments by each group member of the other group members. So if I'm in a group of 4 people, I assess all the others, so I assess 3 people. And those are worth 25 collectively as a group. Then the instructor has their own, and they assess, and that's worth the same. I didn't want to weight the instructors too much. I wanted the students to basically have the same weight as the instructor overall. And that is the base of it. That's pretty much all it is. Does anyone have any questions about it?